Here is a chart that two traders can look at simultaneously and see completely different things. One trader sees price, candles, patterns, maybe a moving average or two, and they're building a story around what price did and where it might go next based on what it looks like. The other trader sees something entirely different. They see where volume concentrated, where it avoided, where the market transacted the most. They are not reading story through price. They're reading story through volume. And those two stories do not always agree. After 30 plus years of watching institutions move markets, because they're the size, I can tell you with a reasonable amount of certainty which trader is closer to how big or smart money actually thinks. And it's not the one staring at candlestick shapes. The volume profile is one of the cleaner windows into institutional behavior that retail traders have access to, and most never use it seriously or properly. A lot of them have seen it on a chart and moved past it because it looked really complicated. It's not complicated. It is different from what most retail traders are trained to look for, and that difference is exactly what makes it worth understanding. So what is this video about? We're going to work through volume profile from the ground up, the way it actually applies to trading decisions, not the way some manual describes it. This is why price action alone lies. The thing I've noticed over the years is that most retail traders develop an almost exclusive relationship with price. Open, high, low, close. The candle went up, the candle went down, a pattern formed. That is the entire conversation for a lot of traders. And I understand why. Price is the thing that changes your account balance. It's what you see on the chart. Price is what you see move in real time. It's intuitive to focus on it. Makes perfect sense. But price without context is incomplete information. Think of it as operating in a one-dimensional world when there's actually multi-dimensions. A candlestick can tell you where the market opened and closed and how far it traveled in between. It does not tell you how much conviction was behind that move. It does not tell you whether the level was tested once by a small number of participants or repeatedly tested by enormous institutional order flow. Two candles can look identical and mean entirely different things. Volume at price changes that. It answers a different question than traditional volume, which just tells you how much traded during a given time or on a particular date. Volume at price tells you how much traded at each specific price level within that time. And that is a completely different data set. I remember working through this concept with a trader who had been at it for a few years, and she kept asking why certain levels held, why others did not. A common question, right? Even when they looked the same on the price chart. And the answer almost every time came back to volume distribution. The levels that held were the ones where significant volume previously transacted. The ones that failed were levels that price happened to pass through, but where almost no real activity occurred. In fact, if you've ever been caught up in an institutional sweep, you're thinking, Rog, I've seen this before. Now that distinction matters because institutions do not think about price the way retail traders do. They think about inventory. Where did we build it? Where is it distributed? Where are the areas that still have unfinished business? Price charts alone do not answer those questions. Volume at price begins to. Here's how I read the map. High volume nodes, low volume nodes, and the point of control. When you pull up a volume profile chart, you're looking at horizontal histogram bars extending to the right from each price level. Longer bars where more volume traded, shorter bars where less volume traded. The longer bars are what we call high volume nodes. The shorter ones are low volume nodes. And the single longest bar, the price level where the most volume of all traded, that is called the point of control. High volume nodes are essentially agreements. They represent price levels where a large number of buyers and sellers both felt comfortable transacting. As we talk about volume at price, remember, for every buy, there is a sell. It's always a matching process. That two-sided activity is what generates volume. And because a lot of participants built positions there, those areas carry weight. There's a tension there. And when price returns to them, we know There was already an idea or a plan in place. Low volume nodes are the opposite. Very little transacted there, very little attention. The market moved through those levels quickly because neither buyers nor sellers, not very many of them, had a whole lot of interest. They were not areas of agreement. They were areas of transit. So because so little was established at those levels, price tends to move through them quickly. And again, when it returns, it moves through them. There was no plan there. Very few traders or investors were interested in that level. This is something I've watched play out in virtually every market I've traded across 3+ decades. Price accelerates through low volume areas. Price decelerates into high volume areas. Almost every time, it is one of the most consistent behavioral patterns in the market. Size equals attention. The point of control sits at the center of this. It's the price level with the single highest amount of transacted volume in whatever range you're analyzing. So let's keep this in mind. If you're looking at the point of control for a session, for a month, for a year, it matters. So whatever range you're looking at, that level represents the maximum consensus agreement between buyers and sellers. Institutions pay attention to it. If you've been watching my videos here, you know that institutions look for liquidity. And that's exactly what this is. When price is trading above the point of control, it's relative premium territory compared to where the most activity occurred. If price is above a point of control, I think of point of control as a support level based on volume. Below it, relative discount. So again, if price is below a point of control, I look at the point of control, by the way, often called a POC, as resistance. Looking at volume levels as support and resistance is going to give you a working framework, a realistic one for thinking about where price sits to where real participation was. That context matters when you're deciding whether to step in and look for a setup with an edge or whether you're just chasing. The value area is an important zone. Beyond the individual nodes, high volume and low volume nodes, and the point of control, there's a range called the value area. And the value area captures price ranges where roughly 70% of the volume traded for the period, again, that you're analyzing. So it could be an intraday, end of day, weekly chart. It matters how much data is on your chart. It has a high boundary and a low boundary called the value area high and the value area low. Once again, think of these as value area high, resistance, value area low, support. The 70% figure is an industry standard. Though some platforms will let you adjust it, you want to look at the default because that's the one that the most traders are looking at. And the default is a reasonable place to work from. In fact, I've never deviated from that. That value area tells you where the market spent the bulk of its time transacting. That's where the attention was. Not just where it went, but where it was comfortable. That is the range where institutions are building and distributing with the most activity. So building is buying, distributing is selling. Here's the part that I want you to sit with for a second. The value area from a prior session, it could be the prior week, it could be the prior day, right? Whatever that range is, does not become irrelevant the moment price moves away from it. There's a memory. These levels age pretty darn well. I've watched price return to value area boundaries that were set the day before or maybe the week before. And they react at those levels because price transacted there, right? Think again as volume at price as another way to discover support and resistance. Now, of course, this isn't every time, but with enough regularity that it makes sense not to ignore them. The reason is not mysterious. Again, institutions built positions within that area. Some of those positions are still open. Some of those players are still watching those levels. When price returns, the same memory that created the value area the first time influences how participants respond to it the second time. Remember, transactions were there. One thing I've learned to watch for is price returning to an old value area after spending time outside of it. If price left the value area to the downside, then rallies back towards the area low, that often acts as resistance. Remember, what was once support can be resistance, and the value area low was once a floor, now it can be a ceiling. And if price left to the upside, broke through the value area high or resistance and pulls back down towards that value area high, it can often provide support. Because again, what was once resistance can become support. Again, nothing is always, it's just something to be aware of. But again, it happens often enough that it's worth marking on your chart. In fact, many platforms will do this automatically. It doesn't have to be a lot of laborious manual work. So having these on your charts before you decide anything is definitely worth knowing. So how do we build confluence? One of the things I say to traders fairly often is this: a single level is a data point. Two levels that agree are a trade consideration. And when three or more frameworks point to that same area, that is worth your full attention. The volume profile works best when it's not the only thing on your chart. It's a powerful lens, don't get me wrong, but trading from a single lens is trading from an incomplete set of data. When you take volume profile levels, point of control, value area boundaries, and it sits at or very near a structure level you've already identified independently. It might be a Darvis, it might be moving averages, it might be a volatility level. There's more attention there, and that's when things change. The level stops being one thing and might become two or three things to different groups of traders. Again, the more attention at a level, the more a reaction. That convergence is what raises your confidence, when all those things overlap in that area that's being watched by participants who matter. Matter meaning volume. I've seen traders get really excited about a point of control in isolation. They take a trade off it, they get stopped out, and then they say, this doesn't work. It does work. The tool did not fail. The setup was thin. There wasn't enough there. There weren't multiple reasons why someone should step in and transact at that area. One level is one reason. It's usually not enough. What I look for is a point of control or a value area boundary that aligns with a horizontal structural level, or a volume profile level that sits near a previous swing high or swing low the market has already tested and respected. Now remember, tested and respected means there was a reaction there. When those things line up, the area becomes a genuine reference point of attention rather than just a line on a chart. From a risk management standpoint, Confluence also gives you a cleaner place to define where the trade is no longer valid. If the level is meaningful, you know where being wrong is, what it would look like when the participants don't step in. That clarity is part of what makes a trade manageable. What I do not want you to take from this is that the more levels you stack, the better. There is a version of this that becomes analysis paralysis. You're not looking for 17 things to agree before you act. In fact, there are 4 factors of the market. Volume is one of them. Price is one of them. Time is one of them. And volatility is one of them. You're looking for a primary reason, and then you're confirming the reason with another factor. And between these 2, maybe 3, enough conviction could be there to define a clear entry, a clear stop, and targets that make the risk of the trade worth taking. Historical volume profiles can be used as ongoing reference. One of the most underused applications of volume profile is historical. Most traders use it on the current session, and that's good. It's a good place to start. They look at the current day, the current session, the current range, but they never look back at old points of control. These levels don't retire. They're not forgotten. They are active to a certain degree. They can be reference points as long as the market gives them relevance. So you're looking for a reaction there, not expecting it. The market tends to give them relevance for longer than most retail traders would expect. A trader I worked with a few years back was struggling to explain why certain levels kept holding in a market he was watching. He'd been marking the same horizontal levels for months and wondering why they kept coming back into play. When we mapped the volume profile of the prior range on top of his chart, almost every single one of those levels corresponded to a prior point of control or a value area boundary. The market wasn't being random. It was just returning to those areas of institutional involvement, of buys and sells, of activity repeatedly. There is an institutional memory because the size can be so significant. Big money or smart money does not forget where it built inventory. When price returns to those areas, the same participants who established those levels are watching to see what happens. This is particularly useful in trending markets. When price breaks out of a range and then pulls back, one of the first things I look for is where the prior point of control sits. If the pullback stalls near that level, the probability that the trend's resuming from there is pretty darn high. It's probabilistically meaningful. as opposed to if price was pulling back to a level where little volume ever transacted. Size is attention. What I would recommend, practically speaking, is this. Start building a habit of mapping the volume profiles of significant ranges on your chart. In fact, if you're using TradingView, you can use their visible range volume profile. I have the VRVP on all my charts. Mark those points of control. Mark the value area. Mark levels where there's a volume, I like to call them volume ledge or a high volume node. Leave them visible. Over time, you're going to start to see the same levels come back into play again and again. And now you're going to have a reference map that most retail traders don't have. After all these years I've spent with charts, the volume profile has stayed in my toolkit, not because it's the flashiest tool or because it generates the most setups. It stayed because it consistently reveals what price alone conceals. You can trade without it, plenty of traders do. Those traders are working with a partial picture. Instead of a four-factor look of price, time, volume, volatility, they're just looking at a one-dimensional picture of price. The volume profile fills in the part of the story that price alone cannot tell on its own. If you take one thing from this video, take this. The next time you're looking at a level and asking yourself whether it's a significant level or not, pull up the volume profile, that visible range volume profile. And if you're looking at a daily chart, look at least a quarter, if not the year. And if you're looking at an intraday chart, look at the pre-market if you're in the real session. So look back so there's some history. And if a point of control or value area boundary lines up with what you're already watching, maybe a high volume node, now you've learned something. Institutions have already been there. Size transacted. Start with one market, one time frame. Maybe take the S&P. Look at the S&P between, say, 2 a.m. to the open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern and see where pre-market volume established. Let these levels earn your attention before they earn your capital. Watch how price reacts at volume profile levels without placing a trade first. Test it out. Give yourself a few sessions to just observe. Take notes, take screen captures. That observation phase is not wasted time. This is how you train your eyes. And this is how you build the pattern recognition that makes this tool actually work in real time. If you've been watching price hold at specific levels and wondering why do those levels keep holding and coming back, drop a line in the comments. It's genuinely interesting to see what traders across different markets are observing. Share it with the traders here. And the conversation is definitely helpful because what we can see is how to use this tool and how traders are benefiting from it. A lot of times this conversation can be as useful as this video itself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.